We will never give up our territories. And nobody can pressure Ukraine to make this, because Ukrainian people will never ever accept it. That's just a fact. We are ready to do it in stages. So first Russians should retreat to the line before February 24. After this, we can come back to negotiations about how and when we will restore our control over other Ukrainian territories. That is clear for us.
Last time the Ukrainian MP Oleksiy Goncharenko was in our studio, he interviewed the Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. A lot has happened since then. He's back in London now and he's meeting the candidates for Prime Minister. He's also a former advisor to President Zelensky, of course, and he's in the studio. Thank you very much for coming in again.
Thank you very much.
We will talk about the various people that you're going to meet in a moment, but Susie Jagger was just talking there about these talks going on in Istanbul about a possible deal being reached to unblock the grain that has been stuck in Ukraine. What do you know about that?
That's extremely important, and for me personally, because I represent Odessa and previously was Odessa chairman of Odessa Regional Council, and we know that that is extremely important for the planet, because more than 400 million people throughout the whole planet are dependent from the calories from Ukrainian crops. That is blocked. The consequences of these are already, you can feel them everywhere, starting from poor countries where people are already suffering from a famine, artificial, absolutely famine, and continuing. I mean, in the UK, somebody will go this evening to pub, and fish and chips, which are made on Ukrainian sunflower oil, will be more expensive, and beer, which is made from Ukrainian barley, will be more expensive. And I mean, that is the consequences for everybody. If the situation will not be changed in the nearest few weeks, the consequences would be even worse. So I hope very much that these negotiations that we had yesterday, that they will give a result. But we don't believe Russians, so we need to continue pressure them, both militarily, like Ukraine does in the Black Sea. We liberated Serpent Island. We are really attacking their fleet and things like this. And also politically, to show to the whole world, especially to the countries of Global South, which are suffering the most from what's happening with the prices on food, with the delivery of Ukrainian crops, that Russia is doing it absolutely consciously, and they want to have this artificial famine. They want these millions of refugees coming to Europe. They want this unrest, the chaos, the very high prices, because also Russia is the biggest exporter of grain in the world, so they benefit even from this. So we need to show this to the whole world, and I hope that together this political pressure and military pressure will change the situation and will unblock Black Sea.
Now, things are very different to when you were last here in terms of the news that we are reading about and hearing about in this country, because Ukraine was top of the agenda for many months. Now we've had a political crisis here. Really, we've kind of effectively lost our prime minister, and they are in the process of trying to elect a new one. So, are you concerned that until in this country anyway, we have a prime minister in place, which won't be till September, that this is what people are going to be focusing on, and they're going to be focusing less on Ukraine?
It's normal. I mean, we understand everything, but first of all, I should say thank you to Boris Johnson for everything he did, because he showed leadership. I'm not coming inside internal agenda in the UK, but speaking about support of Ukraine, and support of Ukraine today means preventing of a big war on the continent. And Boris Johnson showed leadership in this, and he was really one of the best, I can tell you, maybe the best. And we are very thankful for this. I met him on the NATO summit in Madrid 2 weeks ago, and I can tell you that he was doing it, and there also a big job. Speaking about new prime minister, I hope that whoever will be, they will continue this line of leadership of the United Kingdom. And I'm sure that it will be like this, because it's not just UK politicians who support Ukraine, but it is UK people and UK society which supports Ukraine. And it means, like in democratic country, politicians should follow the public and the demand of the society. But definitely, and I'm very thankful to you that you invited me today, that we need to remind people what's going on. Just minutes ago, there was a missile attack in Vinnytsia, which is the central part of Ukraine, far away from front line, with a number of killed people. The shopping mall is hit again. Just minutes ago, that is what happened. I just saw this video, and we have again killed people. We already have one killed baby confirmed, and that is awful things which are happening every day. Early in the morning, Mykolaiv which is a neighbor city to Odessa, before invasion, 500,000 population people, which was attacked by Russian missiles. So this barbaric war continues. Russia continues just to destroy everything, to kill innocent people. And I think that it should be on top of agenda, and we should stop them as soon as possible.
Now, you said in a tweet earlier on this morning, about 4 hours ago, you said you were going to be meeting the candidates. I mean, obviously, the number of candidates is going to change every day. There's 6 just now. There's going to be 5 at the end of today. Are you meeting all 6 today?
No, and I can't. I'm sorry, I can't name people.
Okay.
But yeah, my idea is just to speak and to all of those who will be responsible tomorrow for UK politics towards our country and in general towards security. So that is so important, and we will continue to do this. After London, I'm coming to Washington. Next week, I will be testifying before Congress. So we try to build, and after this, coming back definitely to Ukraine. And because for us it's so important to build this coalition and to stop Russia, to stop them now, because every day matters. Just I said, just minutes, and we have again new victims.
We spoke to Timothy Garton-Ash, who's a professor at Oxford in European history, big supporter, obviously, of Ukraine. But he says his great fear is Russia gets an ascendancy in the Donbass region. The military support doesn't get to you quick enough. Putin declares what amounts to a victory, or at least a ceasefire, and then the pressure in the West is to want there to be a settlement. Germany is going to run out of gas. They're terrified of what that's going to do to their economy. The whole global economy is going to be traumatized. The Eurozone is in trouble. Are you concerned that Russia gets a victory in Donbass, and then the pressure on Ukraine from all sorts of places is to do some sort of deal with Putin?
I would be frank. We will never give up our territories. And nobody can pressure Ukraine to make this, because Ukrainian people will never, ever accept it. That's just a fact. We are ready to do it in stages. So first, Russians should retreat to the line before February 24. After this, we can come back to negotiations about how and when we will restore our control over other Ukrainian territories. That is clear for us. So I don't have fear of this. I can tell you that if it will go this way, we will be frank with the world, and that will be a very big mistake for the whole world, because it will, if the international law will not be respected, if the international order will not be restored, it will mean that even if we would have a pause, it will be very short pause, and not only here, but I mean it will mean that the world is wild jungles with a predator, with a bear, with a tiger, with other predators, which will hunt for peaceful nations. That will be a very bad scenario for the whole world. The only way why the world was so fast and rapidly developing, because there was security. And there was a basis of security. And the only thing which will give us this basis back, which will give us security, is Ukrainian victory and restoration of our international order and our borders. Everything else is the way to a very big problems, and very soon to the Third World War.
Did you hear, just before you came in, we were speaking to a correspondent who said an independent poll shows that support by Russians for the invasion has fallen to 55%.
We see it, and I think these numbers even are. I think that the support of Russians is even less, Nobody knows real numbers in Russia. And nobody can come to Buryatia, which is a remote part of Russia, from where they take the majority of people. It's not people from Moscow and St. Petersburg who are dying in Ukraine. They are making a genocide of their indigenous people, like Buryatia, like in Caucasus, Chechnya, Dagestan, and other parts, where they're killing. And they every day increasing the cemeteries in their towns and villages. How do you think, do they support this war or not? They absolutely hate it, but nobody can ask them and to calculate them in polls.
Yes. Well, listen, Oleksiy, as ever, thank you very much for coming in and speaking to us with such passion, understandable passion. It's Ukrainian MP Oleksiy Goncharenko, and no doubt we will speak to you again at some point. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was such an interesting man, Oleksiy, and you can just hear it. You can imagine him before Congress as well,
Yes.
making that case very, very forcefully. But we shall see what happens. But it is definitely dropping off the agenda, and that's understandable, and it's just human, I think. But
I wonder if it would have dropped off the agenda. Do you think it would have dropped off anyway?
I think
if
it probably would have done.
we weren't in the kind of situation that we are right now. That's
I think we
interesting.
probably would have done. Yeah, there's fatigue, isn't it? Happens to everyone. I'll tell you who never shows fatigue.
It's that bell.
It's
You came
bell.
in and we heard your bell.
There's the man with
Can
the
you
bell.
control your bell?
Yeah. Hello, Matt
Resting
Chorley.
bell.
How are we?
Very good. How are you?
Giddy.
You still giddy? Do you love a bit?
No,
of it?
you don't look giddy.
Do I not?
No. No, you look very in control of your emotions.
What's going to happen today, Matt Chorley?
What's going to happen today?
Is Penny Mordaunt really the answer to the question that everyone's been asking?
Well, it depends what you think the question is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the big... I was interesting. I think there was I was down in Westminster yesterday, and I saw quite a lot of the people around the Penny Mordaunt operation. You think if they've been a bit taken by surprise about how it's going.
Tell us to do an interview on Times
That's
Radio.
good to know.
Well, I've tried that. I did literally spend about an hour lobbying for that. And it's interesting. So, Andrea, if you want to know what's going on, Andrea Leadsom is literally running her campaign. We had her on the show, and we put the whole interview is on the podcast. So, if you want to know all the advice they're giving Penny Mordaunt, I mean, I'm not sure they're necessarily following it, because she said, don't be disorganised. Do start this early.
And
Be
they're turning
clear
on
about what
her.
you're doing.
People are turning on her, aren't they?
That was David Frost, though. I mean, for goodness sake.
Someone else is the civil servants.
Ian Duncan-Smith didn't seem too keen.
Well, I mean, that's going to be the big problem. That's always the problem with a contest like this, is that you have to put the family back together again afterwards, after they've all fallen out. It's going to be tough.